one of the reasons we're able to come back to Australia after 35 years is because of those songs. So it'd be kind of like a gypped if we did Two Princes as like a ballad or something. That drum was made right there in Perth, and it's a wood called Jara. Chris Brady started making these drums, years ago, and I heard about him and I bought a kit. But Hendrix just completely took it and made it his own, and I think it's one of the greatest covers ever made.
This is the Mixtape Podcast. I am your host, Mark. If you enjoy this week's episode, please feel free to rate it 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can find over 140 archive episodes just by visiting themixtapepodcast.com. And there you will also find the link to my Mixcloud. On the Mixcloud channel, you can also hear the music that my guests pick for their mixtape. Also on the website are my social media links and YouTube channel. You can find all of that good stuff at themixtapepodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Hello and welcome to today's mixtape. And today on the show, it is an absolute pleasure to welcome Aaron Comes from Spin Doctors to the show. How are you, mate?
I'm good. How are you, my friend?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Thanks for coming on the show, making the time. Very much appreciated. So, coming to Australia, celebrating 35 years of Pocket Full of Kryptonite. DestroyAllLines.com for tickets and info. Shows throughout Australia. I think there's 10 or 11 shows all up. But for Perth people, it is Tuesday, the 12th of May, Metropolis, Fremantle. First question, Aaron. Did you choose the venue Metropolis as for its tie-in with Superman and the whole sort of album, or is that a fortunate accident?
I didn't even know it was called that until just now. So, but that is a nice fortunate accident. I like that. That's great,
Yeah, that's
man.
great. Yeah. That's the
That's
first
a
thing that
really
come into
cool-
my head.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's a great venue. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. You haven't been to Australia since 1993, mate. Why so long?
Oh man, I don't know. It's a long trip around the world, huh? It's a long flight, man. Well, it has been a long time, man. I have great memories of that time we came 30 years ago, and I'm just glad we're finally making it back. And we never went to Perth, and I can't wait to go to Perth. And Chris Brady, I played Brady drums on those first records. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're a very popular, custom built drum company, and Chris Brady makes them in Perth. So I'm really excited to actually get the chance to meet him as well. So it's gonna be really cool, man.
Excellent. I didn't know that. And set list wise, obviously, it's a celebration of the album. Are you doing the thing where you sort of do it front to back, or are you just playing loads of the songs from the album? Any deep cuts? What can people expect set list wise from?
We're planning on doing the album front to back, just like on the record, and then we'll, take a shot, have a drink, have a beer, and do like another little short set of, of other deep cuts, some couple of the new songs, maybe a cover or two. But we have a nice show planned. But yeah, we've had this opportunity a few times to do the whole record in its entirety, and it's a lot of fun for us. It's and in celebrating the anniversary, and we don't always get a chance to play all those songs on the record, so it's going to make for a really fun show for sure.
Yeah, that was a follow-up question. Were there any songs on the album that you've never actually played live before that's going to be like a debut for those songs?
No. We always do it. We've always mixed up our set every night. There's certain songs. Obviously, we always play Two Prince, the hits, Little Miss, Two Princes, Jimmy Olsen, but we always mix our set a little bit. So we've played all those songs many times, but a lot of them don't make it in the set on a regular rotation. So it's gonna be a good opportunity to do that, 10 or 11 shows in a row. Really, really fun, man. Really fun. We still, it's funny after all these years, that's a really fun record to play. The songs are really fun to play, and there's a lot of variety on it. So it's really rewarding for us to get a chance to do it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you mentioned the hits there. Like with an album like that and like sort of massive worldwide hits like that, like, do you ever get like bored of playing hits? And like over the time, over 35 years, has your relationship to those songs changed at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. We've always tried to sort of like a lot of times you'll go see a band and they'll do like a totally different arrangement of their hit songs because they're bored of it, whatever. And that's cool in a way, but I also feel like, look, man, I mean, one of the reasons we're able to come back to Australia after 35 years is because of those songs. So it'd be kind of like a gypped if we did Two Princes as like a ballad or something. So, our relationship is great with those songs. I mean, we're really grateful to have them, and they're still a real blast to play. And every night I just try to make them better than the last night. So, I'm very grateful for it, and I don't get tired of it at all, to be honest.
I didn't see anything on your web store, but are there any plans for like an anniversary vinyl release or anything like that? Because vinyl's obviously quite popular now. Is anything like that going to be in the works?
Yeah, actually, just in fact, I think they just posted something on our Instagram and socials yesterday about a re-release in vinyl that's coming out limited supply. I think it's only like I can't remember 4,000 copies or something that they're putting out, and I imagine we'll have them for sale at the show too, hopefully. So, but I know it's going to be out on our web store. I'm guessing, I'm pretty sure we'll have some.
Excellent, fantastic. For Australian vinyl fans, it's always good when bands bring their vinyl to shows because postage absolutely kills us down here. Like not only the cost of it, but like in the summer, a record only has to sit in a hot truck for a couple of hours and that's it. It's done. It's finished. Like it's unplayable.
By the way, what's the weather like when we come in May? What's it?
May's a good month. It's not quite winter. It's mid to late autumn. So
Good.
yeah, you'll be fine. It'll be good. It'll be sort of low to mid 20s, I would say, during the day.
Nice jacket
So
weather,
yeah,
huh?
yes, yes. Right now, at the moment, we've got a cyclone coming down the west coast. So it's not going to be cyclone conditions in Perth because we don't have the meteorological whatever conditions for a cyclone to exist, but we will catch like the tail end of it. So everyone's sort of battening down their
Really?
hatches at the moment in Perth, yeah, because we got a cyclone Narelle is coming down the coast, like sort of towards
Oh
us, yeah.
man.
So yeah, I was sort of hoping that nothing was going to happen with me Wi-Fi or anything this morning, like I was going to get cut off or something
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, no, May's a really good. I remember when I first came to live in Australia, because obviously you probably picked up from the accent, I'm English, I'm not a native Aussie, and it was May when I very first came to live here, and I remember it thinking, "Oh, it's really hot for May," but it wasn't. But it was just, I just wasn't acclimatized at all. But yeah, it's a good time to come visit, yeah, for sure.
Oh, great.
Yeah, February's the worst. Like it's like 40 degrees most days, like Celsius. Yeah, so like yeah, sort of 110
And,
sort of most
and
days.
it's
But
free and it's freezing for us in February in New York. So
yeah, that's it.
so weird. That's so weird. That still blows my mind. I mean, we're still the same distance from the sun, but yet somehow
Mm.
I can't quite understand that.
Yeah, I remember when I very first came to live here, I used to run a backpackers hostel, and we used to do like airport pickups. And I picked up a guy who'd arrived from Sweden, and when he got on the plane, it was -20, and he got on in Perth, and it was 40. So he had
Yeah.
60,
Wow.
60-degree swing in his flight. Yeah, that was wild. All right, let's talk about first your latest album, Face Full of Cake. Now, what I always try and do with these sorts of interviews, I'll obviously play the hits in the radio show as well from Pocket Full of Kryptonite. But I always try and look for like your latest album and try and pick a song from that. This one picked itself, no question. Boombox. Not only is it a banger, like it's a great single and it's so on brand for me.
And you got them. I think that explains the boom boxes behind you.
Yeah, well, the show's called the Mixtape, so it's sort of like my sort of background and sort of whole theme of the show. Yeah, yeah. So I saw that and I was like, oh, that's the one. Great song, amazing track. Sort of a little bit sort of tongue in cheek, I would say, a little bit sort of yeah, yeah. Lyrically, yeah, it's not necessarily about boom,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
um.
Exactly.
But I wanted to ask you, Aaron, like as a band, how do you write? Do you write collectively or are there designated songwriters? Is it collaborative? And has your process sort of changed since the early days up to the new record?
We've always had a similar approach to songwriting. Everybody in the band writes a lot, and for instance, like on the new record, there's some songs that Chris brought in himself. Like Boombox is a song that he wrote, and he came in with his acoustic guitar, and then we all collaborated and put it together and kind of made it a little heavier and stuff. And then other songs, I write a lot of music, so like for instance, Gorilla is a song that I had the music for, and then Chris wrote the lyrics, and then There's a bunch of songs that Eric had the riffs for. There's a couple songs that me and Eric put the music together and then brought them with Chris. So there's really all sort of those combinations of songwriting, and we've kind of always been like that throughout all our records. And I think that explains why, if you actually listen to our records from start to finish, you'll hear like a variety of sort of styles. Like Pocket Full of Kryptonite, same thing. You can hear like a variety of styles from like a song like Two Princes to something like 40 or 50, or Shinbone. It's because we've all different members of us have and brought in sort of the different pieces of it. So that's kind of how it works. It's
Yeah.
and it it's for it's I think it's one of the things that's made the band interesting for all of us, and one of the reasons we've been able to sort of stay engaged for all these years, because it's always been a really good creative outlet for everybody, musically.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
we're grateful for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm not a musician of any type, Aaron, really, but I want to sort of ask you about your drum sound, really, and sort of nerd out a bit, because I reckon I could hear 10 snare drums and pick yours out, like especially like Two Princes, but I don't know what it is about it, like technically, that makes it so distinctive. So what is it like on that
Well,
snare sound that you did?
it's a couple things, and one thing is that drum was made right there in Perth, and it's a wood called Jara. Chris Brady started making these drums, years ago, and I heard about him and I bought a kit. So those are the drums that I used on those first couple records. And there's a certain sound of those drums. And of course, and I tuned them up real tight. And a lot of it's the way I play, I'll give myself some credit, but there's definitely like a distinctive sound with those drums. And again, it's what I mean, and people ask me that same question a lot. So I'm extra excited to come to Perth for that reason. It's sort of like
Yeah.
I owe a lot to your town and Chris for sort of getting my sound. So, but that's it.
When I post the clips around on the Perth sort of music pages, I'll see if I can find Chris and tag him. Does he have a music store, or does he just
No, he's kind of like they don't the company isn't really, he's not really making drums. He's older now. He started like in the mid '80s. So they had a really good run, and they've always been a small mom and pop company, but they're known worldwide. And a lot of guys around the world have their drums. They're real. They've got this cultish following of drummers that just, I mean, their drums are very well known and loved by many. And he's still around. He's doing well, but he's not. The company is not really doing anything now. I think I actually spoke to him recently. He's still making a few drums, and but the company is not up and running.
You're listening to The Mixtape.
The Mixtape is brought to you in association with Giglist. Giglist is your one-stop shop for all your live events. If you're looking to get out and experience some live music, you can filter by artist, venue, suburb or date. If you are an artist, it will take you less than a minute to list your gig for free on the website. The Mixtape, brought to you in association with Giglist. Gigs in a list. All right, let's get to your mixtape track choices then, Aaron. So as you know, the show's called The Mixtape, and when I get people on, I like to ask them just to explore their sort of influences and inspirations to pick some songs for a mixtape or playlist or whatever. So the mixtape kicks off with a track one, Attention Grabber, and you went with Hot for Teacher, Van Halen.
Yeah, well, listen, first of all, I'm a drummer, as you know. So
Yeah.
right out of the gate, Alex Van Halen with that beat is just a big attention grabber. I mean, I remember when that came out, I was in high school and, just went nuts for it. And then, the guitar comes in. I mean, I grew up with Van Halen. I'm a big Van Halen fan. That song to me, just everything about it. Then the video on MTV was incredible. I don't know if you remember that video.
It's an attention grabbing video, that's for sure. You never get away with that now.
So to me, it was an interesting, it was a hard question, and I thought about it for a minute. And once I remembered that, I was like, that's a no-brainer. But what a classic song, holds up to this day. But it just, as soon as it comes on, you're just grabs your attention immediately.
Fantastic one to kick it off with. And so we've gone from sort of complex, sort of intricate drumming to your track two choice, which is a song you sing in the car or the shower, but you don't sing. But if you have to, you went with "We Will Rock You."
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a classic, easy sing-along song, it's got that beat. I remember when I don't sing at all. I play a lot of instruments. One thing I don't do is sing. But we had like a show and tell or something when I remember being like a kid in school, and I remember going up and actually bringing my drum and playing that beat and actually singing that song in front of the class. So it's like one of the few songs I probably ever sang in public. But, what an amazing song, and just the simplest beat you could imagine, and then just this great hook, and then, of course, at the end, that incredible guitar, that comes in, and then they go into "We Are the Champions," but just a classic, and just an ultimate sing-along type song.
I don't know if have you seen the Bohemian Rhapsody movie where the scene in
Yeah.
that movie where they're talking about when they're writing that in the studio and
Right.
Brian May's like, I want a song that we can connect with the audience and they like sort of be part of the band with
Right.
the stomping and the clapping and stuff. Like, first of all, what
Totally.
a brilliant idea, and second of all, amazing execution because that is exactly what it turned out to be.
Oh, such
Superb.
a
Yeah.
incredible, right? Amazing.
All right, and track 3 of your mixtape, Aaron, is your favorite cover version. You went with "All Along the Watchtower," Jimi Hendrix.
I mean, Bob Dylan's song. And I think, what makes a great cover, it's like when somebody makes it totally their own. And I think a lot of people probably think that that song is a Jimi Hendrix song. He made it his own, but it's a Bob Dylan song. And of course, Bob Dylan, what a genius. And he wrote it and did a great version, but Hendrix just completely took it and made it his own. And it's another difficult one. There's a lot of good covers, but as soon as I remember it of that, it's just like, I think it's one of the greatest covers ever made, for sure.
Unsurprisingly, very popular choice in that category. That gets picked very, very often. It's that "Hurt" by Johnny Cash, "Hallelujah"
Oh,
by Jeff Buckley,
yeah.
and they're the three that come up
Oh,
like
yeah.
really, really regular.
Those are
Yeah, for
great.
sure. So I think like when you listen to that song, the production on it is just unbelievable. Like the studio production on that recording, and you sort of already dialed into my follow-up question, which was what makes a good cover version for you. But he's absolutely done that there. Like so many people think that's a Jimi Hendrix song. You would never know. Like that's it's so different to the original. Yeah.
It's amazing. And you know what else was cool? Well, back in those days, I don't know, what was that, like maybe 69 or something? Or
68, 69, yeah, yeah.
I mean, back in the late 60s and early 70s, a lot of artists would cover songs that had just come out a few years earlier. Now you think of, usually when people cover, it's usually something 20, 30, 40 years earlier. But, that song had only just come out from Dylan, I think, a few years earlier. And there's a lot of examples of that back then. And that's pretty cool. You don't see people do that now. Like, oh, somebody just put out a song like last year and we're going to cover it already. And then have it be a hit. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
so it's interesting, but yeah, just
Yeah.
genius.
Track 4, I think I might need to rephrase how I put this question to people. So a song you wish you could play to your 18-year-old self. That can be from any era. It can be a song that came out yesterday that you would like your 18-year-old self to hear. But if you want, I can give you another choice, or another mixtape track choice, or if you've got
Yeah,
something
I mean,
sort of.
I could. It was such an interesting question, because I actually feel really lucky. It made me think about it. I feel really lucky because when I was 18, like, I started playing music when I was really young, and I had an older brother, and I went to an arts high school, and I just had so many good influences around me. And I consider myself lucky that I was always really open-minded, and I always listened to all kinds of music. And like, by the time I was 18, I was in music school, and I was like really serious about what I was doing, and I was, pretty well versed and well rounded. And so, like, there was nothing that came to mind that, like, I wish that I
Mm.
would have sort of got. I felt like I was already really on the right path and had the right influences going. So, great
Right, cool.
question.
So
Was one.
what I do, Aaron, because I'm like almost 150 episodes into the show now, so a few people have been on twice. And so I've got a separate set of track choices, which are called B-side, and for people who come on a second time. So I'll give you one of them. And one of those would be your favorite duet or collaboration. Let's go with that one.
Oh man. Oh, what's a great one? I just heard it the other day. It was do 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 do. Queen and David Bowie. I heard that on the radio. I was driving my car the other day, and that came on the radio, and it just reminded me of what an amazing song it is. And it's like, it's so wild. What a great collaboration. And I heard a funny story. I don't know if it's true. I read something about it. I was looking in because I just heard it the other day, and I was kind of researching it a little bit. And again, I don't know if this is true, but the bass player, John, what was his name?
Deacon.
John Deacon said that at the session, Bowie said to him, was trying to like say, play that bass line different, a little. He was kind of directing him a little different, and John was like, I know what I'm doing, mate. You know, and he was right. I don't know if that's true, but good thing he didn't change it, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Who would be your dream collaborator, Aaron, if you could collaborate with anyone, alive or dead?
I mean, when I was younger, I always dreamed of playing with Miles Davis, and sadly, he passed away. And but if I had to name sort of one musician that I probably my favorite, there's so many, but I'm just a huge Miles Davis fan. This guy was such a genius, and he changed music like 4 or 5 times in his career. I love all his eras, and he's somebody I would have loved to have had the opportunity to just get a chance to play with.
Speaking of Miles Davis, track 5 of your mixtape, a song you would put on your mixtape, like we used to do back in the day, for a romantic interest, someone you're keen on, and you went In a Silent Way, Miles Davis.
It's one of my favorite records of all time. It's an interesting period. It's sort of a period where he was going from more of the modern jazz thing, a little bit more into the 70s fusion thing. But it's just the thing I love about the record is it's just really minimal, particularly the first side. It's just really minimal and it just repetitive, and it's just a mood. And I'm really attracted to music that has like a color and a mood and he just it's such a to me it's the ultimate like mood to be with somebody you want to be with, you know what I mean? And I just love it. And it's so musical, but it's not abrasive at all. You can just sort of you could chill out with it, or you could like really listen to it. And I love music like that. That can like you completely pay attention and be totally engaged musically, or you can just sit back and have a hang out with your friends, and it's not going to like blow the roof off. And that to me, that's sort of the ultimate record for that.
And track 6 of your mixtape, Aaron, is a deep cut album track or B-side, and you went with Slave, Rolling Stones.
Oh yeah, Slave. Well, Tattoo You is one of my favorite Stones records. I love that record. And Slave is just, it wasn't a hit song or anything. You could almost call it a filler track, but it's just got the most killer groove. It's funky as hell. The lyric, it's just one of my favorite Stones songs, and it's just I don't know, man, something about it. I just love that whole record. But whenever that song comes on, man, I just love it.
That's the reason I put that track choice in the choices was just so I could get introduced to new stuff and unusual stuff and deep cuts and stuff like that. And
That's good.
that's been a constant joy of, people picking stuff like that and unheard of stuff. Yeah, it's been great. I've got a little Spotify playlist going of all the track 6 choices.
Great.
And, yeah, so that's a great playlist to listen to. All right, we'll do I've got quick fire 5 for you now, Aaron, just to round it out. So these are, so I call them quick fire. You can elaborate. You don't have to just give like one word answers. And these 5 are all sort of geared around touring and live shows and stuff like that. So the first one in the quick 5 is: do you have pre-show ritual?
Not really. I mean, the one thing that we do sometimes, it depends on, but a lot of times we'll have a little sip of scotch as a band. We always have a nice Lefroy or Lagavulin on our rider. So a lot of times we'll all take a little scotch, and then we'll toast backstage. And then when we get on we always go on the stage, and we have a song that's playing, the lights are down, and Chris will come back to me, and Chris goes over and sort of toasts everybody, comes back to me, we toast, and then we start. We don't do it every night because sometimes we're not drinking this week or whatever. We're tired. We got jet lag in Australia, whatever it is. But that's sort of our pre-show ritual for quite a while.
Yeah, excellent. Love that. Is there any one item you always bring on tour, like a home comfort or anything like that, that you have to have with you?
I mean, not really. I mean, in my computer, my charger, I mean, I have things like the one thing that whenever people ask me, what's the one thing I always have, like with my drums, I always have duct tape. But I don't have that on my suitcase. But I always need that on stage is duct tape, because for drummers, duct tape, you can use it to help your drums. But I play traditional grip like this. So I put a little piece of duct tape around my hand because I still get, after all these years, I'll get a blister if I'm playing those loud backbeats all night. So duct tape's kind of my answer, but it's not really like something I carry on in my bag, but it's
Essential
something
item.
I always have with me on tour.
Yeah, yeah. All right, cool. What's in your tour rider? Anything weird or interesting?
We're pretty boring. I mean, we got scotch, we got vodka, we have tequila, we have fruit, we have, we have cigarettes for the crew. But we don't have anything. It's not like we have green M&Ms or anything like that. We're not testing anybody here, but we're pretty simple.
Cool.
We've gotten rid of some stuff over the years that you never use. So
Yeah. No. And what's your favourite city to play live?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I mean, we've been all over the world. And it's funny because people always sort of ask that, and in some ways they're all the same. Once you get on stage, it's like you're on stage and there's people, but sometimes you find different cities have a different vibe. Like L.A. or New York, people could be a little sort of like, you go to a place like, I'm hoping Australia, everybody's really excited. Whenever we go like to Spain, people are just incredible. In certain areas, a lot of times like touring the States, we find that some of the smaller towns, people are more appreciative. Places where when you get out of the big cities and maybe they don't get bands all the time, you have your best concerts because people are just so into it. So a lot of times it's the out of the way places that are the most fun gigs.
And finally, in the quick fire 5, if you could time travel to any concert in history, which concert would you choose?
Wow. I probably have to say I've always been a big Deadhead. I love the Grateful Dead. And everybody says there's this one concert that is like supposed to be like the best concert they ever did, Cornell 72 or something. There's like all these tapes floating around. And so that'd be a fun one to go back to and see if it's really worth all the hype,
Yeah, yeah. No, great choice, mate. Future plans, Aaron, once you get the Australia tour out the way, what have you got planned with the band for the rest of 2026, mate?
We got a very busy year. I'm actually we're doing a gig tomorrow. I'm down in Delaware. We're going to Brazil right before Australia. We're going there for like 2.5 weeks. And then we're going to be going down to Australia to see you guys. And then we're doing a big summer tour this summer with our buddies Blues Travel and the Jim Blossoms. We're doing like a package tour for the summer. And then we have a bunch of shows on our own. So it's probably our busiest year in quite a while. We have a really big year coming up for us.
That's funny you just mentioned the Jim Blossom because I haven't heard of that name for ages, but I always associate them with you because Hey Jealousy, I think, must have been out at the same time as like Two Princes or something like that. They must have been around the same sort of time.
Exactly. Those records came out at the same time. We toured together back in '94. We did a big summer tour, both bands. And so we go way back, and we also go way back with Blues Traveler. They're another New York City band. We kind of came out of the same seed of New York City with those guys. So it's a great tour because out of all the bands we've ever played with, we share the most history with both those bands. So we did it last summer and it went so well. We're doing it again this year. So that's going to be a great.
Aaron, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting today. Thanks so much for coming on the show and making the time. It is a Pocket Full of Kryptonite, 35 years. Tickets from destroyallines.com. It's Metropolis Fremantle, Tuesday the 12th of May, and there are lots of other Australian shows as well. All the tour dates at destroyallines.com. Safe travels down under, mate, and can't wait to see you. Take care.
You're then, man. Thanks so much.
Cheers, buddy. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's mixtape. If you would like to get more from the mixtape, you can catch up with over 150 archive episodes by visiting themixtapepodcast.com. Also there you'll find links to the YouTube channel, my social media pages and my Patreon if you would like to get even more content that doesn't go out on the radio show or the podcast. You can secure your mixtape backstage pass. All of those links are available at themixtapepodcast.com. You've been listening to The Mixtape and I've been your host, Mark. Until next time.